Hello and welcome to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This program takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to relationships to politics, but only at a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or to be the authoritative voice on any topic. We are not social scientists or scientists of any sort for that matter. We are just here to rap about things that we think are important and that we will have fun talking about. Also, it is my opportunity to publicly and on the record prove that I am right and my teens are wrong in all cases and that the 80s and 90s were absolutely the best time to grow up. So check out our podcast and let's have some fun. Today's episode, we're going to have something really fun and we're going to go into pop culture. We're going to talk about music. Now, I think I lived during just a phenomenal time in the 80s and 90s. I'm even going to argue that it was the best time. I mean, we're talking Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, Michael Jackson at the peak of where they were talent-wise. I mean, God, the Boss and Madonna are still touring around right now and just sold out shows and just still making an impact. And then, you know, Michael Jackson at this point obviously would still be a major star if he hadn't had that tragic died years ago. That being said, for everyone out there, okay, what we're going to talk about, I am not an expert on all the small facts or everything that went into everything that we're going to talk about. Mainly, I want to talk about how I experienced certain moments in the 80s and 90s with music. I will say there are some phenomenal videos and podcasts and things. I've even watched some on history of hip-hop with my kids that were just phenomenal and very interesting and fun to watch. If I've gotten anything out of place or anything like that, or somebody else was the bigger influence than what I'm going to talk about, please do not hate on me. Again, I'm talking about how young kid in the rural South experienced what I'm going to talk about 3 key moments, and then I'm going to give it over to my teens and let them talk about some music, and we'll go from there. So with that, the big 3 moments that I had growing up that still stick to me this day was, first off, was the intro into 80s metal. I actually can still remember the moment that I heard Quiet Riot, and the song was Come On Feel the Noise, and that was such a big moment because I can still remember my older sister played it, and it was just so different from everything at that time. I was a young, probably close to not even being a teen yet, but right around that time, and it was just, it was the wave. It was something that everybody was talking about in my little town, and clearly it was a nationwide phenomenon and really ushered in, I think, these hair bands into the mainstream. Second thing that was pivotal to me was a little bit later, and it was the introduction of rap. And I experienced it, I think, the way that most people experienced it, which is the Run DMC with Aerosmith music video on MTV, which was Walk This Way. And again, that was just something that was just amazing to hear. It was so different. I didn't really know Aerosmith. They were before me when they came out with Walk This Way, but Run DMC's version of it really ushered in what rap music was, and then it was shortly followed by the Beastie Boys, License to Ill, which everybody I grew up with had that tape, and everybody listened to it, and every song, and we could sing along with it. And if there's ever been an album that was built for teenagers, it was that one. That really introduced everybody, made rap mainstream for everyone, and that was just a huge moment. It opened up that entire whole genre, I feel, to everyone. And then the last one was Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. That song, again, in the spirit of it was just so different and so overwhelming hearing that and that grunge sound that introduced the rest of us to that Seattle sound, that really shaped everything. I mean, it was unfortunate for the hair bands because after that, when it came out, it was just nothing but, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and everything else, and how it ushered all of that in. So now, those were big influences that I would say, 3 big pivotal moments. Good luck, teens, Gen Z, following that up. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you listen to music?
I mainly use Spotify and just listen on my headphones, just kind of whenever. That's really it.
Okay, is it stuff that Spotify is picking out for you, or is it you changing stations? Talk to me a little bit about how you use Spotify.
Well, I just think, with the advent of obviously the internet and streaming services, it's made music not only a lot more available, but also like a lot more varied. Rather than back in your day when music was really only on the radio, and the only things that were really popular were whatever the top genre of that time was. Nowadays, you can make really whatever kind of music, and there's pretty much a community for that. So there's a lot more genres, a lot more variety, and there's a lot more people in each space, and you can just listen to whatever you want. It doesn't have to necessarily be popular for you to be able to hear it.
I create my own playlists on it, so I just listen to those, and sometimes I'll just add new music to it if I like it, or it's kind of whatever.
Who is it that you like?
I can name a lot.
Pick 3.
So, I listen to a lot of different music. I don't really stick to one genre, just kind of nice about streaming services. It allows you to listen to whatever. You don't really have to stick to anything. But let's see, in terms of rap, there's Mac Miller. There's some of the bigger ones. There's Travis Scott. There's 21 Savage.
I like a lot of hip hop and some indie rock. So like Tyler the Creator, David, Travis Scott. Just people like those.
Okay. How do you hear about new music?
Most of the time I find it just on my own, not really from other people, because everyone has different music tastes nowadays. Yeah, I just mainly just find it on my own.
Do you ever listen to just the radio?
Never. I hate the radio.
Okay, so that's a big difference. So a lot of our music was all on the radio because there was no internet or anything. You really had to dig into some of the record stores back when they had record stores back in the day. And then what was huge was the countdown shows each week. So Casey Kasem, and then eventually, I'm blanking on his name, but there was another one, but the Top 40. And so we would listen to all of that, and that was a big deal because that's how we all listened to the same stuff. Okay? So with that, if like Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, Michael Jackson, can you name people, or is it just everything that generic?
I know definitely my favorite artist is Tyler the Creator. He just has like a lot of different sounds. But going back to the radio, I don't like it because it plays a lot of the same songs over and over, which you've probably heard by now, just because of social media and the internet and all that.
Okay. And has there ever been any new sound that you have just been blown away with? Like, that's something new. I want to learn more about whatever that genre or that group or whatever. Have you ever been just blown away?
No, everything is kind of something like I've heard before. So there's nothing like really just kind of crazy that I've never heard.
Wow. Well, there you have it. So, hey, everybody out there making music, Gen Z, tough crowd. Okay, well, here's another thing that I remember from you guys, which is when Fortnite had Travis Scott do a concert. Both of you were way into that. I mean, I admit it was kind of cool and different. I didn't know much of his music at the time, but is there a reason why you think that was a big deal to you?
It was mainly just because it was lockdown at the time, and we didn't really have anything better to do or get excited about, so we just got excited about that.
That was it. Okay.
Well, and I mean, we were like young teenagers at the time. Just about everyone our age was into Fortnite and listened to Travis Scott, and you put those two things together, and naturally, a lot of people are going to be excited about that. So.
Okay, but I mean, that was a different experience. All right. What I'm hearing again, though, it's tough at the 80s and 90s. I mean, do you think some of the artists today are going to have some of the same staying power as Bruce Springsteen, Madonna? We still hear Michael Jackson songs. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
I mean, yeah, if you take any of the big like pop superstar, obviously Taylor Swift, like Bad Bunny, some of those like just big superstars, yeah, they're gonna have a ton of staying power. And then in each individual genre, they have their own stars who are gonna have a ton. People still listen to Kanye albums from early 2000s, and still considered amazing rap albums. Same with people like Jay-Z, and then you have like Travis Scott and all of that, who people still listen to their old stuff because they're still considered great stuff, and it's stuff that we will likely listen to later on. I think that, the people you mentioned have a lot of staying power because that's what you guys were listening to if you're young and you're still listening to it as adults, whereas we're going to be listening to this stuff we listened to young as adults. So, I mean, not a lot of people my age listen to Bruce Springsteen or Madonna or, I mean, Michael Jackson. I mean, everyone agrees Michael Jackson is great, but no one really has that on a playlist. Same with the other ones. So it's really just a generational thing.
Well, and that's what this podcast is about. So one last question. I'm going to go to my younger teen, which is we've listened to a whole lot of stuff on The Weeknd. We haven't really talked about him. He is huge. I'm in the party that thinks he got hosed by the Grammys a couple years ago, but what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about his talent?
Of course, he's a talented singer, and I think he's gonna have a lot of staying power in the future. His old stuff is really good, but I don't really have anything to say.
Okay. Well, with that, do you guys have any last parting shots? All right. Well, this was an interesting conversation. Didn't quite go in the direction I thought it was going to go in. I definitely think to listeners out there for this podcast, you guys be the judge, but I'm going to go with the 80s and 90s again. I'm right and they are wrong. Our acts and our music, I think, was the best overall. Well, everyone, that is all we have for today. I want to thank my two Gen Z teens for indulging me in this enterprise, as always. Cue the eye roll. Please check back for more episodes in the future. The intent is to get them out every week, and hopefully you're having fun with this. If you do like it, please follow so that you know when new episodes are dropping, and please, it would also be helpful if you left a nice comment. With that, that is all we have for today. Thank you again, and that's all we have from the Gen X dad and his Gen Z teens. Take care.